how's it going? I hope you're doing amazing. This video outlines 5 cubing tips and tricks for beginner cubers that might make you just a bit faster. I was a beginner not so long ago, so these tips are from experience. Keep in mind this is not a tutorial. Without further ado, let's go. So before you start a practice session that you actually care about doing well on, or do an event at a competition, you should always make sure that your hands are warm first. Now, I'm not talking about warmth as in temperature. Well, I'm not talking about just that. I'm also talking about dexterity. This may seem pretty intuitive, but it's really important to figure out methods that help you get your hands ready. So one thing I like to do is these warm-ups where you get your hands ready by opening your hands and closing them really quickly. And this really helps get your tendons going and have them all warm and stretch. So another warm-up you could do is this one, where you curl your fingers in order like this. This isn't a great example, but you know what I mean. Because this also gets your individual fingers warmed up. And one more thing you can do is just rub your hands together or blow on your hands. As far as cubes go, there's an insane number of them out there. It's really important you choose one that's best for you. Find a cube that you enjoy practicing with, because otherwise it's not really going to be fun. So my man here is the Supernova Little Magic M 3x3. So it's only $12.95 on Speedcube shop, which is kind of crazy considering how good it is. It's magnetized, super flexible, it's really fast. But the really great thing about it is you can adjust it super easily to fit your preferences. So you can adjust the tightness of the springs, and really that changes it to become a completely different cube. It can be tighter and more stable, or faster and more flexible like I have it. I'm actually going to make a video on this because it's this cube is not a really normal cube, and also just listen to how satisfying this is. That's pretty satisfying. But really, unless you really want to, don't spend too much money on a fancy cube. Go for one that can be customized a bit to your own specifications, like this one. There's a link in the description to Perm's video on the best speed cubes that you should check out after this. Again, this next tip may seem a bit intuitive, but that's the point. It's really important to, as a beginner, start trying to figure out how all the pieces move on the cube. So, for example, you can do this by figuring out the cross just by yourself without looking at a tutorial. So that goes there. This piece goes down here, and then this piece goes down here. And you can just, figure that out. Eventually you'll get much better at it. Another thing is, for example, when you start to learn F2L, or even if you know F2L, so here's an example of what F2L is. It's basically, I see that I have this piece and this piece, and I have to pair them up and put them in a slot at the same time, and solving the corner and the edge at the same time. Then knowing how all the pieces move around intuitively will save you a lot of hassle of figuring out everything later on. So I guess just the more knowledge you have about how all the pieces move around, the better off you'll be in the future. And by figuring that out, you can very quickly have all this muscle memory for all these F2L pairs. I immediately knew how to do that pair, just because I have the muscle memory for it. Another thing you can do to help improve your capabilities for doing things intuitively is you can try to do F2L pairs blindfolded if you already know how to do it. Or you can just close your eyes. So for example, this pair, here and here, I'm going to try and do it without looking. So as you can see, I have this pair in the slot now. And it'll also just build up your muscle memory for learning blindfolded, for example, like what I'm doing now. This one's simple, but you shouldn't always time yourself. Sometimes it's good to just sit down, look at the cube, and just solve it for fun. Just picking up the cube with no pressure is good for practicing. Without that pressure, you can focus more on look ahead and being more intentional with your moves. As opposed to when you're being timed, you're under all this pressure to do it really fast and mess up. This doesn't really help you if you're not thinking about being targeted for specific things at a certain point. Finally, something that I still have to work on is practicing intentionally. When you sit down for a practice session that's going to be timed and that you care about, have a goal in mind. Focus on cross, or F2L, or just anything that you want. And then just time that section of the solve for a while. Then go back to doing full solves and see your improvement. This is probably one of the most effective ways to practice. And that's it. Comment if you're going to use any of these, and have a good day.